Good afternoon. On behalf of the Mayor, Randy McClement, and the Board of Aldermen, it is my pleasure to welcome each of you to the official groundbreaking ceremony for Phase 2 of Carroll Creek Park Shared Use Path Project. That's a hard one to say. What's not to love about today? Great December day, beautiful downtown Frederick, and Phase 2 of the park. Let's hear it for all about it. For those that don't know, my name is Rick Adams. I'm the President and CEO of the Frederick County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm absolutely honored to serve as the MC for this important milestone in transportation, recreation, revitalization, and economic development. For you see, the Carroll Creek project was initiated as a flood control effort following the devastating flood of 1976 and was funded initially by the city, the county, and the state of Maryland. It was anticipated that this public investment in flood control and park improvements would attract private capital back to downtown Frederick in the form of new and renovated buildings, jobs, and tax revenue. Now, more than 30 years later, 6 city administrations have had their hand in this project, and I would like to publicly acknowledge those former mayors who are here with us today. First, Mayor Ron Young, now Senator Young, whose vision and inspiration started the flood control project and laid the framework for the park and the development efforts. Stand up, Ron. Next, Paul Gordon, who served during a major transition period. Paul, stand up. Mayor Jim Grimes, who completed portions of the Western Park and initiated East Street construction between East Patrick and East South Streets. Jim? Mayor Jennifer Doherty, who oversaw the design and construction of the last phase of construction through the heart of downtown. Jennifer. I'm not sure I've seen, but Mayor Jeff Holtzinger, who initiated the design of this phase of construction. Are you here, Jeff? Let's recognize him anyway. And last but not least, Mayor Randy McClement, who oversaw the completion of design, funding, and now construction of this phase of the construction. Let's hear it for Randy. Thank you, Randy. In addition to those, we have a lot of other distinguished guests who are here with us today. They may have come in later, so I'll be sure to get them. First, we have Juliana Albowitz, who's representing Senator Barbara Mikulski. I don't see her yet. Robin Summerfield, representing Senator Ben Cardin. We do have Tristan Fernandez, representing John Delaney. Stand up, Tristan. Has Senator Dave Brinkley arrived? Probably on the way. Delegate Galen Claggett's here. President of Frederick County Board of Commissioners, Blaine Young is here. Paul Smith, County Commissioner, is here. Other county commissioners include Billy Shreve, Kirby DeLauder. I don't see either one of them. Alderwoman Shelley Russell is here. Stand up, Shelley. I mean, Kelly Russell. Shelley Kelly. Stand up, Shelley Kelly. That's what you call reading ahead. Alderman Shelley Lloyd is here. Alderman Michael O'Connor is here. Alderman Carol Prim is here. Alderman Karen Young is here. And we have Alderman-elect Donna Kazenchek. Saw her. There she is. And I think Alderman Josh Bokey is supposed to be on the way. Also, we have Jessica Selleck, representing Maryland State Highway Administration. There she is. Jennifer Almond, representing the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. There she is. Michael Piane, representing the Maryland Department of Planning. Okay. Karen Norman, Director of Downtown Frederick Partnership. I saw Karen back there. Ed Robinson, President of the Board of Directors of the Downtown Partnership. Mike Murin, President of East Street Rising. John Fiesler, Director of Tourism, Frederick County. Alan Profiter, Manager of Frederick County Business and Development and where are you, Alan? There she is. Denise Jacoby, Director of Frederick County Builders Association. Saw Denise there. Earl Robbins is here, Chairman of the Downtown Hotel Advisory Task Force. There's Earl. And I think on the way should be Carlos Klein and Tom Lynch, the Clinches, representing the Friends of Carroll Creek Park Group. Let's hear it for all of them. Okay, the Linear Park and Path Project is intended to provide alternative east-west transportation through downtown and spur private investment to build new buildings on infill lots like the McCutcheon's Mill here, that's already here, as part of the new development in the area around Carroll Creek Park. It is the strong intention of the Chamber and its partners to seek a privately owned and operated 200-room full-service hotel with 20,000 square feet of meeting space to serve the business community, residents, and leisure travelers. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Richard Griffin, Director of Economic Development, to provide more details about today. Let's hear it for Richard.
Good afternoon. This groundbreaking ceremony has been long in coming, to say the least. But the time is right, and the project will serve as a catalyst for future private capital investment here on the east side of downtown Frederick. The design process conducted by the HNTB Corporation and RK&K engineers started in 2006 with oversight by the Carroll Creek Task Force, and I think they'll be recognized a little bit later in the ceremony. The project was put out to bid earlier this year and ultimately awarded to Waynesboro Construction. And I think Greg Brown, President of Waynesboro Construction, is here with us today. Greg, raise your hand. Thanks for being here. And I know he's ready to get started on the project and hopes the weather's going to be just like this all the way through. The $15.7 million project is funded by the city, the county, the state, and developers. It's a public-private partnership project in the sense that the public sector is building the park and the shared use path improvements, and the private sector is building and renovating buildings along the park. Consider the last phase of work, which was constructed by Morgan Keller for $10.6 million and induced $35 million worth of new private sector development in the form of new buildings in the center of town. This phase of work is flanked by 6 or more development sites with proposed and approved plans for more than $100 million in new and renovated buildings. Those new facilities, when completed, will deliver over 400,000 square feet of office space, 150,000 square feet of retail space, 350 multifamily residential units, 1,200 jobs, $2.5 million in local property taxes to the city and county. This area is part of a state-designated BRAC, Base Realignment and Closure Revitalization and Incentive Zone, and is a major anchor for East Frederick. The construction will take place in 2 distinct areas for a combined area of 9.2 acres. The western area of the work is going to take place between South Bent Street and Market Street. The eastern part of the work will occur between the Delaplane Center to our rear and East Patrick Street to my rear. The western work will consist of a new gateway, widened paths along the south side of the park to accommodate multi-use pedestrian and bicycle traffic, along with new lighting and park furniture. Additionally, it will involve an all-new path section on the south side of the park between South Court and South Market. This was an area that was not done during the last phase, across from the Creekside Plaza and La Paz Restaurant. That section will include 2 new attractive water features and a spring house designed to be similar to an old mill race. The eastern part of the work is going to begin at the Delaplane Center to our rear here, and will complete the multi-use path out to East Patrick Street. It will cross East Street and it will go past the Frederick News Post site and the Galleria property owned by the Warmall Company, which is planned for 127 residential multifamily units and retail space. Both of those sites, along with others in this area, are both strong contenders, obviously, for this downtown hotel that Rick mentioned. Also, the work includes a much improved crosswalk across East Street to our rear and nearly a half-mile of new construction of multi-use paths, landscaping, water features, lighting, park furniture through the area in which you're sitting now. This area right in this vicinity of the creek will be widened with water jets and fountains, and will culminate in a fountain that will be located at the turning basin down at the other end. So it'll be a widened kind of mill pond area there. This portion of the park runs past the following development sites. McCutcheon's Mill, right to my left, your right here, which is planned for a 35,000 square foot retail building, planned for the factory store, the McCutcheon factory store, and related food uses. It includes a great front porch for sitting, a tower, and a water wheel, owned by McCutcheon's Apple Products, and Bob McCutcheon's here with us today. Thanks, Bob. McHenry's, located to your left, the old McHenry's property, excuse me, is planned for a 100,000 square foot office building with 12,000 square feet of ground floor retail space along the street side and creek side, and below grade parking. It's owned by Douglas Development Corporation, and I don't think anyone from Douglas Development was able to be with us today. The Union Mills project, approved for a major historic renovation and new square footage totaling over 45,000 square feet, 15,000 square feet of ground floor retail spilling out into the park. It's a cool old building. Everyone that looked at it always said, think brew pub. Owned again by Douglas Development Corporation. The park is the front door for all of these development sites. We've known for a long time that the park is a catalyst. If we want these development sites to be constructed, we had to build the park. And so the elected officials, the mayor, the board of aldermen, really saw that opportunity and the economic benefits that might come along with it, and funded this project. There's a great team of professionals who are going to oversee the construction of this phase of work. I've already recognized Greg Brown, but Greg and his team are here. If anyone's here from Waynesboro Construction, raise your hand. Okay, great, and we appreciate you guys being here. We also have a city resident project representative on the project. That is an engineer that's going to be looking out for our best interest during the process and helping with the work, and that's Dave Wiegand with Specialized Engineering. Dave, where are you? Thank you for being here. Rauke Myers, the Director of Parks and Recreation for the city, is going to serve as the project manager. Rauke, thanks. We have Zach Kirshner, our city engineer. Where's Zach? Back in the back there. Is going to be overseeing a lot of the engineering side of anything that comes up that is related to the city. And finally, I want to recognize, although I didn't know the specific actors who will be working on this job as well, and I just wanted to recognize the fact that they put in a lot of time and effort, and I'm not sure who that is at this moment in time. So in closing, let me give you just a few statistics about the park. 1,846 linear feet of pipe, 400 tons of hot asphalt mix, 17,119 square feet of concrete paths, 16,816 square feet of special pavers, 38,500 square feet of brick walkways, 1 bridge, 2 gateways, 500 skateboard prevention brackets to protect the walls, 883 linear feet of handrails for them to skateboard on. Just kidding. 1,717 linear feet of guardrails, 10 dog waste dispensers, 12 bike racks, 71 benches, 37 trash receptacles, 7 drinking fountains, 18,673 trees, shrubs, and perennials, 167 light poles, 5 new major water features. So you can see this is going to be a great addition to Frederick, to downtown, to East Frederick. It's going to be a major transportation asset, recreational asset, and catalyst for business development. I'll turn the mic back over to Rick Adams.
Richard, you can't have too many dog waste containers. That's a great idea. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you the Mayor of Frederick, Randy McClement.
Good afternoon, everyone. What a gorgeous winter day we have here for this. And yes, hope we can make this happen through the construction period, so make this go a little faster. This is an exciting day for not only us, the elected officials, but for the citizens of the city of Frederick. This project represents a major step forward in a long revitalization process that has spanned several decades. It also represents the future. More recreational opportunities for residents to stroll and enjoy the park amenities. Increased tourism and retail activity. More pedestrian and bike travel. Job opportunities. And increased revenues to the local and state government help to offset the public investment. There are a number of key funding partners to which I would like to thank. First, my colleagues, the City of Alderman, who throughout this past administration have supported and helped fund $8.5 million towards this project. Second, Frederick County, which has continued to help fund initiatives in the city with the understanding that what is good for the city of Frederick is also good for the county. Their $400,000 contribution is significant. We'll hear more from Frederick County Commissioner Blaine Young in a moment. Third, the state of Maryland for a tremendous financial and technical support provided by the Maryland Department of Transportation and State Highway Administration, headed by Secretary Smith, which provided $500,000 in bikeway grants and nearly $6.6 million in transportation enhancement grants. The Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, headed by Secretary Skinner, which provided $100,000 in community legacy grant funding for the East Street crossing improvements as part of this project. The Maryland Department of Planning, headed by Secretary Hall, for the technical assistance during the design process and throughout the project. The Maryland Department of Business and Economic Development for business development support to assist with tenanting the new and renovated buildings. I also like to thank the development community for supporting this project, both in terms of contractually obligated contributions to this project and for the planned future investment in the new and renovated buildings. In addition, there are a number of key staff whom I'd like to recognize for the professional work to bring this project to fruition. They worked extremely hard to get us to where we are today. Ms. Candy Fullerton, Manager of Purchasing. Ms. Katie Barkdale, Budget Director. Rolke Myers, Director of Parks and Recreation, and as Richard said, will serve as the project manager. Zach Kirshner, our city engineer. Joe Atkins, our Deputy Director of Planning. And of course, Richard Griffin, our Director of Economic Development. I also would like to thank the Osherman Family Foundation and Steve Oder of Cavalier Development for their contributions to the design process. And I think Steve is here. Thank you very much, Steve. I'd also like to recognize the contributions made by the Carroll Creek Task Force. This group of appointed individuals, while no longer active, is responsible for much of the design oversight for both the completed portion of the park and the section on which we are beginning construction. Headed for many years by Mr. Dick Kessler, former owner of King's Menswear, this group of volunteers gave hours of their time providing input, feedback, and design for the park. Their input was instrumental. I would like to ask any former members of the Carroll Creek Task Force present to please stand and be recognized. Thank you all very much. So just to make sure we covered them, I'd also like to note of that task force was Fran Baker, former alderman, Clyde Hicks, who is here, Karen Norman, Marilyn and Guy Henry, Mike and Nita Nash, and Mike McCrossan. While the City Parks and Recreation Division will be responsible for the long-term operations and maintenance of this new section of the park, I would like to tip my hat to the new Friends of Carroll Creek Park organization, which will work hand in hand to ensure the long-term success of the park. For example, the recent water lily project to improve the water quality and aesthetics of the park. And I know they were on their way, but Carlos Klein and Tom Lynch are hopefully here or coming here to represent the group. but I would like to ask that any member of that current group that is here today, please stand to be recognized. Anybody? Well, let's give them a hand anyway. The City of Frederick has a three-pronged sustainable development approach. First and foremost, it's revitalization of older areas in the city, like downtown Frederick, East Frederick, and the Golden Mile. Renovation and adaptive uses of existing buildings is critical to sustainability, aesthetics, and public safety. You can see how important this is as we look across the creek properties, like the Union Mills building, and just up the street, the renovated Monocacy Valley Canning Company building, and including McCutcheon's Mill. Next is the infill development on land and lots internal to the city, which either were previously undeveloped or being redeveloped. Again, an example, Bob McCutcheon, Ed Warmold, and Doug Jamal have a vision for just such buildings here along this Great Creek project. Last is the new greenfield developments providing the planned mixed-use developments of the future of this part of town. The investment being made here in the Carroll Creek Park, shared use path, is a catalyst for building world-class communities of the future. Upper story tech jobs and new residents living and working downtown with ground floor retail and restaurants to ensure vibrancy and active park interface. In closing, I want to quickly highlight two key initiatives which are crucial to the long-term success of Frederick, Carroll Creek Park, and the business development. Located to my left is the Downtown Multimodal Transit Center, which we all call the MARC train station. Increasing transit frequency, more train service, bus service, shuttle service, is key to the business development downtown, reducing traffic congestion and improving connectivity to the metro area. We all must continue to push to increase transit. Also key is the Downtown Hotel Project. This full-service hotel project is to be constructed, owned, and operated by the private sector. The role of the city and its partners, including the Chamber, the Major Employers Group, the Tourism Council, the Downtown Frederick Partnership, East Frederick Rising, and Frederick County, is simply to help facilitate the attraction of private development capital to make that project happen. I was honored to appoint Earl Robbins to chair the team to ensure that we bring this project to fruition, and it is top priority of mine to make that happen. This facility, with approximately 200 guest rooms and 20,000 square feet of meeting space, will help the business community with key meeting space and events needed not currently being met here in our great city. The included conference and events will put feet on the street, helping to strengthen the retail restaurant market. Carroll Creek Park is a key inducement to that project. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It's a gorgeous day to get out of the office, so I'm glad you came. Thank everyone from the former mayors to our current elected officials for making this project happen. This is what makes Frederick great. This is part of our character, and we're very excited to be moving on to this next stage. And I know the citizens of Frederick can't wait to see what this looks like when it's done. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mayor McClement. Joining us are Juliana Albowitz, representing Senator Barbara Mikulski, wave your hand, and Robin Summerfield, representing Senator Ben Cardin. Thank you all for coming. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you the President of the Board of County Commissioners, Mr. Blaine Young.
As the mayor said, everyone always gets excited when they hear about the improvements to Carroll Creek today. Things are looking up. I got excited. I even saw the Claggett sign leaning right. But then I was brought back to reality when I picked up the paper today to talk about increase in income tax. So I'm sorry. Did former Mayor Jeff Holtzinger ever show up? I was hoping to get a former mayor's group hug picture instead of the groundbreaking, but I don't think I'm going to get that today. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, myself as president, Paul Smith is here as Vice President, Commissioner Billy Shreve, Kirby Lauder, and David Gray. We have been very excited to join the city on many projects through this administration. Just recently, we worked with signing an MOU for the completion of Monocacy Boulevard. As the city remembered, with the design of the interchange, the county, the previous board contributed there with the city to keep that on track. And, you know, I think, you know, I haven't researched the history. I'm a big history person, but it might be the first time ever in the history that the president and vice president of the Board of County Commissioners were both former aldermen. And that's significant, because every time I bring a project to the Board of County Commissioners, I was a former alderman, Paul was a former alderman, and then, of course, Commissioner Shreve is a city resident along with Commissioner Smith, and Commissioner Lauder has been very receptive. So when we talk about these projects, myself and Commissioner Smith are very familiar with them because of serving as an alderman, and we've been very receptive. Obviously, we do recognize that so goes the city, so goes the county in terms of the vibrancy, the tourism, big part of it, and of course job creation. So I'm just hoping 30 years from now the project's done, because I've been hearing about it long enough. I always said the Carroll Creek project's like the extra brother that we ever had, so hopefully it grows up and is successful and on its own way, and hopefully 30 years from now we won't have it'll be done and you all won't have to endure another young in office up here shoveling dirt 30 years from now. So thank you very much for having a couple minutes to say a few words.
No pressure, Greg. You're not feeling any heat there. 30 years, yeah. Most of us, well, some of us hopefully will still be around. It's going to be close for me. Yeah, at least. I find this statistic very interesting, and I promise you, Richard, that I will count this when it's finished. 18,673 trees, shrub, and perennials. We'll hold you to that one. So, it's now my pleasure to introduce to you two people that really need no introduction, Senator Ron Young and Delegate Galen Claggett. Come on up and say a few words. Ron, you want to come first since you're more senior?
Thank you. It's a great day. I could go into an hour's history of this, which I won't do, but when I first took office back in '74 as mayor, I pulled off all the old plans that were stuck in the bookcases that nobody ever looked at, and there was one there for a park along Carroll Creek. It was a $50,000 project. It's kind of grown a little bit since then. It was nothing like this. It was just putting 2 walking paths along Carroll Creek all the way through town. This really got accelerated when we hit the flood in 1976, and we had a study done of how we could control it, and this was the most expensive way, but it was the only way that would have saved downtown, and it's been of great value to the city. And it was a very difficult thing to get the flood control part of it going. So we put together a trifold project: flood control, linear park, and economic development. Because we had to go to the legislature for money, and frankly, they didn't much care about a linear park or flood control. We sold this on economic development. And with the help of mainly Doc McClellan and Charlie Smeltzer, we got $2 million a year for 4 years and built the first portion of it. And then I went down and did what government's often accused of. Said we're going to look foolish if we don't finish this thing after we've spent $8 million on it. And we needed $36 million to finish the flood control at the time. And I basically asked Governor Schaefer, I took Doc along with me, and it's the first time they met. They became good friends after that. Said, can the state match us for $18 million? And Governor Schaefer said, what's the county put in this project? And at that time, I said, nothing. He thought a second. He said, they're going to gain more from this than anybody when the tax base is built. He said, can you put up 12 million? Well, I'd, excuse me, going down prepared to put up 18, so I certainly figured we could do 12. He said, okay, you do 12, we'll do 12, and the county's going to do 12. Now, there's no commitment, but that's how we're going to do it. And he said to Doc McClellan, I want a commitment, it was Monday morning, from the county commissioners by Thursday for $12 million, or tell them they'll get no money from the state for the next 7 years. And he said that includes education. So I know Doc went home, called the county commissioners and said I need $12 million by Thursday. And he was told there weren't 3 votes there, and named 2. And he said to the president, well, that's 3. You're the 3rd one. And if you don't do it, you're not getting any money from the state for the next 7 years. And if the governor forgets about it, I'll make sure you don't. So Thursday, the commissioners approved $12 million. And that gave us the money to basically complete the flood control project, without which none of the rest of this could have happened. So I'd like to again thank all the former mayors that did their part to make it happen. A lot of people that have passed on that were real pushers in the beginning. A lot of boards of aldermen that we couldn't have done it without if they hadn't supported it. I know this last board, when there was some hesitancy in whether we were going forward, pushed it strongly. So we're here. I think it's great. I don't want to speak for anybody, but a representative of Douglas told me they were about to put money and start this. I hope that's true. The project over here, because it's stalled for a long time. We've gone through a couple of recessions. This has taken way longer than anybody ever imagined, but it looks like the park part will be finished now, and I think as we continue to slowly pull out of this recession, we're going to see buildings like this and that, and the hotel and other things continue to happen and anchor the entire East Frederick Rising, the development of the eastern portion of town. And I will say, and something to the alderman, and well, the one coming in's been there before. I've heard over the years, and didn't hear it this time, but aldermen saying we're going to come in and complete the downtown improvements. Well, they're never complete. Something keeps changing, and you keep needing new additions, new changes, readaptations. So I think we've been progressing all these years. Downtown is looking great. There's been a lot of people. There's no way to thank everybody. A lot of people have contributed to that. Some gone, some still here. And I think Frederick's one of the greatest small cities anywhere. I've traveled this country. I haven't seen a nicer one. And I think we're only going to become nicer, and we need to keep that continued leadership and the partnership with the help that the county and the state have given. And we're going to leave behind us the most fantastic community in the world to live in. And contrary to what Blaine said, there's 6 and 1 more young coming. So who knows whether you'll get stuck with another one in the future, which you might. But thank you all for being here, and I'm very happy to see this all happening.
I'm glad the senator didn't take very long. But I will say to Blaine that I intend to correct the posture of my sign and make certain it becomes straight again, maybe leaning a little to the left. Having said all that, on behalf of the delegation, I want to send greetings from the governor and the lieutenant governor. This project from the beginning has truly been a private-public partnership. We passed a bill last year to create a private-public partnership, that's hard to say, program. And we worked, I did anyhow, for 5 years on that bill to finally get it passed. They say in Annapolis, good legislation takes 3 to 5 years, bad stuff goes through in 1 year. So maybe it was good legislation. The point is, the state, the county, and Frederick City have worked together to make this possible. And you can see several county projects that were involved, lots of county and state money, and I think that bodes well for the cooperative nature of the different government entities and how we proceed to develop this jewel called Frederick City. As the politician said, my words will be short and sweet. I probably have to eat the ones that made the newspaper this morning, but I want to thank all of you for coming out here, and Godspeed on this project. Thank you.
All right, we're winding down here. A couple thank yous. First, and I'm not quite sure how this works out, but I'll stick to the script. We're thanking John Fiesler for the fine weather today. It's part of tourism. John, let's hear it for you.
This is the Chamber of Commerce Day.
Oh, that's right. Thanks. We'll take it. We'll take it anyway. Thanks to McCutcheon's for the hot apple cider and the city for the cookies. And by the way, they are over there to eat and drink, so help yourself with that. Many thanks to Donna and Bobby from the City Department of Economic Development for their assistance in today. I'd like to thank Jimmy Wilden and the Parks Maintenance Division for helping with all the logistics. Many thanks to Lance Duvall there with the City AV Department for their assistance and the video. We'll conclude by taking some pictures with the dignitaries.